Morning traders, and this is your Aussie day trade set up for today, the South African top 40. So hopefully we sorted the sound out. If not, just let us know. And I think we've got it right. But anyway, the other thing is up 4% yesterday on the small account, so looking fairly good, sitting at 8566. And that basically means we had a relatively good 6% return last Friday, or 6.07, and we had a good 4% yesterday. That's pretty much almost 10% of the account in 2 days, which isn't too bad at all. Okay, so looking at the 3-hour here, you can see this trend line here has pretty much held up, and the sellers are stepping in off that line. So I think that's our line in the sand. We're going to need to get above this trend line. We are getting through some fractals though. So there's a fractal that we close above, and we formed a higher fractal. There's a low fractal. We haven't formed another low fractal just yet, but let's just get a level in on that. I'm going to get rid of this trend line. And those are the two fractals at the moment. That's on the 3-hour. On the 4-hour, we can just raise the fractal to there, and you can see we're above the alligator, below the alligator, and we could be testing alligator, or alternatively we could be bouncing off a 200 EMA here on the hour. So I think what you're going to need to do is find your fractals and trade your fractals, either to the upside or the downside. The next thing is this level here is not good enough for me at the moment. All I'm doing is just fine-tuning that trend line. It's pretty much stable. So the last couple of days have been pretty hectic. Big moves up or big moves down. But there has been money to be made here. I mean, the short was up here. There was actually a long, and there was a short here. Okay, so where we are at the moment, I think the only concern I've got right now with this is we kind of broke through this trend line and we're going sideways below the alligator. Okay, so that fractal there is not really, I suppose we could argue that fractal. Okay, so those are my two fractals that I'm looking at the moment. So I think I'm just going to extend this to the high of the last half hour of trading. Okay, so this fractal is 50752 to the upside and 50536 to the downside. If we do get downside, there is a gap still open to the downside. Didn't quite close this gap. So I just want to double check this here. Yeah, this green bar is nonsense data. So there's our gap there. And there is a gap further down as well, all the way down here at 50.057. Okay, so I think for me at this stage, this gap would be interesting if we do get down to there. And if I look at the current markets at the moment, everything's pretty flat. Tencent's down 0.5%. The American markets had a pretty good run yesterday. Oil is fairly flat at the moment, and Rand dollar 14.77, which is also fairly flat right now. So I think by the looks of things, more than likely a bit of a gap down, and I'd be looking for this gap to close to start with. And if we get through this level, we could have a bit of a head and shoulders here. And I think that target would pretty much be 500 points, 430 points. Yeah, so I think you could have the lower gap close, and I'd prefer that lower gap close at 50.057. So I think for me, a logical choice is wait for this fractal break here at 55.36 and play the short. That could be on offer, and you'll probably find that you have a measured move here as well. Let's delete all this. So there's my first move, there's my consolidation, and that takes me not quite down to the gap, but back into this area, which has been fairly strong most of last week. Okay, So let's just get into the Ichimoku here because this is what's going to give us the view we're looking for. So just starting with the 12 minutes on the Ichimoku, and you'll see. So if you just start on yesterday's trade, you can see you had the indecision here, the pullback, and then you had a bounce off Kijinson here, which would have probably been a fairly good entry for a long. I basically got in for a long as this turn started happening here. I was in pretty much getting out at the top here. Wasn't a very long attempt at it, a couple of points, and then on this confirmation here on the 5 minutes is when we got back in for the short. So break of Kijinson Tekinson, and you can see how we held it all the way down. Okay, so I think the rule of thumb here is probably the same. So we've had a sort of a bounce off the cloud, a break of the cloud, and a test of the cloud. So at this stage, your stop area is above the cloud, which is 58.25, and you're looking for a continuation to the downside. So you've got yesterday's opening gap still, and you've got the low of this consolidation, and then you have a gap to the downside below the consolidation as well. So at this stage, 12 minute is bearish, bearish, and bearish. The 30 minute, we've had a crossover in the cloud. There's not a twist at the moment, but we're through. So we've got two bearish signals here. We'd like to see the cloud crossover as well. But to me, I think this is looking like a big new cloud consolidation, second leg coming down. That still looks like it's going to happen today. And the hour, completely different signals. So we've got bearish, bullish, bullish. There's a big signal here. The 4 hour is the one that I'm more interested in. So we have bearish, bearish. We just need this to break through, and then we have extremely bearish. Okay, so those are the first attempts to the cloud. This is also the second attempt to the cloud. So this high of yesterday is pretty much an area we need to be focused on. So that's 59.97 or 51,000. Okay, a break and close above there on the 4 hour will validate more of a long entry and also a bit of bullish price action. Because I think that would actually break this downward trend line, which has been intact for quite some time. Okay, so that's area, and then on the daily, the daily is still bullish, but a bit confused with this. You can't really trade this stuff on the daily at the moment, so you want to be down on the 12 minutes, 15 minutes, 5 minutes, 6 minutes, anything below the 15 minutes, I would say. Okay. So I'm expecting a move to the downside, but this gap at the downside down here does interest me for another long, because from what I can see, we are forming a much wider range here. So bottom of this range is down here at 50,026 or 50,000, and that would interest me for a long. But at this moment, I think you probably got a short scalp on offer, and everything determined based on fractal breaks as far as I'm concerned. And the fractal break we're looking for is this one here, 55.36. 12 minutes or a 15-minute close below that, and expect some kind of buying coming off this gap close as well. So I'd wait for that to happen and then see what the rebound is before getting an entry for the short. Okay, anyway guys, that's it for me today. Hope it helps, and we'll catch you later. Cheers for now.